Call the Millcreek Township Board of Supervisors meeting of May 23rd to order, and we'll begin with a pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'll call for public comment on agenda items other than those dealing with development or rezoning applications. All right, hearing none, we have the minutes from May 9th. If there are no additions or corrections to those, I'll entertain a motion.
I so move to approve the minutes for the May 9th meeting.
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. And we have the bills, two sets of bills from the 19th, 12th, 23rd. If there are no additions or corrections to those, I'll entertain a motion.
I think we should pay some bills. I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Next, we have land development and subdivision plans. The first is for MF Erie LLC, a small subdivision plan to show the replot of 4 existing parcels into 2 parcels, a 1.07 acre parcel A and a 0.46 acre parcel B located in the southwest corner of Peach Street and Edinburgh Road and Tract 347. Mr. Morris?
At their meeting May 2nd, Planning Commission recommended approval and noted 2 requirements. One is that the existing portion of the building on parcel B should be demolished before the plan is recorded. And the second, that they are to provide a cross-access and parking easement between parcel A and parcel B, subject to township approval, that will be recorded on the plan.
Okay, someone here to speak on behalf of this subdivision? We could have your name and address, and when you get done, if you maybe sign the clipboard there.
Yes, Stephen Alafazanos, MF Erie LLC, 2165 Louisa Drive, Bel Air Beach, Florida, 33786. As you stated, we are taking 4 existing lots and turning them into 2. We were going to try to lease the entire building the way it was and renovate it, but seeing as we didn't have enough interest on the second half of the building, we decided to demolish it, renovate what we have a lease for, which is a mattress firm on the main building side, and then grade the remaining property for a future tenant or sell it to somebody that might want to buy it in the future. So.
Okay.
Okay, any questions from the board? Anyone to speak either on behalf of or in opposition to the subdivision plan? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve this with the conditions that are stated.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have West 17th Street dedication. This is a dedication plan to create a 0.478 acre parcel of land to be dedicated as an extension of West 17th Street, west of Harper Drive and Tract 14. Rick?
Township has owned this property as a driveway to the Millcreek Golf and Learning Center since the early 1980s. Since we own, maintain, and plow the 50 by 416 foot piece that is used as a road for access by others, we may as well dedicate it as such and start receiving PennDOT liquid fuels funds for its maintenance. Any questions?
Makes sense.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Stand by in case there's any questions from the audience.
Yep.
Any questions regarding this dedication plan? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll move to approve the West 17th Street dedication as presented on Plan A.
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Next, we have Transportation Investment Group LP. This is tabled from our March 28, 2017 meeting. This is a small subdivision plan to show the reconfiguration of 3 existing properties into 3 new parcels, a 6.0 acre parcel A, a 4.33 acre parcel B, and a 5.17 acre residue parcel, with parcels A and B splitting 50 feet of frontage along West 17th Street, located at the southwest corner of West 17th Street and Harper Drive, and tracks 14 and 17. Rick?
This was originally presented to the Planning Commission at their March 7th meeting. They recommended it for approval. However, there were required frontage issues that have since been resolved.
And that's with the action that we just took on the 17th Street, right?
Correct.
Okay.
The drawing does show 50 feet of frontage
Okay.
or more for each of the 2 lots, and there
Okay.
are cross agreements.
Okay, so the subdivision layout has not changed. The only thing we have done is created that dedication of the street. And
Well, originally, they had 25 feet for
Okay.
the easternmost property. Now they have 50.
50.
And
okay.
cross easements have been granted?
Correct.
And those are all recommendations made by staff and the planning commission previously?
Okay,
Rick?
okay,
Mainly by staff, yes.
yeah, okay. So we're in a good shape on this one here then, Rick, in your opinion?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, someone to speak on behalf of the subdivision plan? You could have your name and address for the record.
Raymond Bonacci, 3025 West 17th Street, Erie, 16505. As you stated, this is pretty simple, straightforward. We've got 3 buildings currently on 2 parcels. We'd like to split the 1 parcel so each building has its own separate parcel. And with the dedication of the West 17th Street extension, and now we're in, looks like we're in good shape to move forward.
Okay. I think this was all pursuant to selling the property or portion of that?
Correct.
And this had to happen for that?
Absolutely.
For that sale to occur? Okay. Just want to verify that. Okay.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
That was my question.
Anyone to speak either on behalf of or in opposition to the land development plan? I'm sorry, the subdivision plan? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve that subdivision plan as presented. With all the amendments.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Thank you. Next, we have Voices for Independence. This is a land development plan that was tabled from the March 28th meeting. It's a land development plan to show the addition of a 1,800 square foot storage building, an 1,800 square foot pavilion, and approximately 45 new parking spaces with associated walkways, public sidewalk, and stormwater management facilities located at the northwest corner of Wilkins Road and Middle Drive and Track 282. Rick?
We still haven't received any indication from the zoning hearing board as to which way they will rule. We received a letter yesterday from Voices for Independence stating that they have made a decision on the pending land development plan that we're looking for, and they understand there's a 90-day time period for action to be taken. So they're willing to extend this time period until June 27th. Originally, the time ran out, I believe it was June 5th. So the 90-day period has been extended with their approval until June 27th.
So we just need to accept their request for extension?
I think we need to table
Yes,
it
the,
again.
we- it had been, yeah, we could agree to accept their letter and then table it to the June 27th, 2017 meeting. The zoning hearing board has held the hearing, and during that process, they obtained from Voices during that hearing, Voices' agreement to waive the time period for the zoning hearing board. So they may take a little extra time in order to decide. At the hearing, there were only 2 members that were present. I think now that the alternate was appointed last time, he may get involved in terms of that, helping resolve that issue. So it makes sense to give them this extension.
Okay.
the zoning hearing board meets May 31st, so it may be possible to act on this at our June 13th meeting.
Okay, possibly then, yeah. Okay, just for clarification, Rick, you received this, or the zoning department received this letter yesterday? It's not dated, so I'm...
I know, it is not, and that's
And-
why I checked.
Okay,
Correct.
for the record, should we indicate a date of yesterday?
Yes.
Put a date of that on there?
And I think we actually reached out to them at the end of last week and said that the deadline was approaching. It might make sense
Yeah,
to
they
go ahead
put
and
the
do
date
this.
on, so we can put that on there then as a stipulation, so, okay. Okay.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, that stated, I'll make a motion to table this until the June 27th meeting as requested, and that's pursuant to a letter they sent to us dated May 22nd, 2017.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
And Mr. Chair, just to clarify for the audience, this is regarding the former Vernondale School. They had previously received a variance via 5 Voices for Independence to utilize the building. They had come to a meeting a few weeks ago asking to actually extend that use, which the board was not convinced was within the variance they received. So we're tabling this until the zoning hearing board can rule on that issue, just in case folks were curious what we're talking about up here.
All right, next we have bids and quotations received. The first is for proposals for the 5-year financial plan and management audit, and I'll refer to our treasurer, Mark Zajeski, for that.
Yes, we opened bids on Friday, May the 19th at 2 o'clock. We received only one bid from the PA Economy League, and the amount of that bid was $76,700. What we plan to do is interview this particular respondent and make a judgment as to whether or not we'll solicit additional or re-advertise, or whether we will accept the one bid at a future date. But just an announcement. of
Just
bid
an
opening.
announcement. It'll be
Yes.
on the agenda. We're going to take action at a later date.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Next, we have bids for milling and paving, and I'll refer to Rick Morris.
Bids were received Monday, May 13th, for the milling and paving of approximately 30,218 square yards of roads within the township. That amounts or equates to approximately 1.84 miles, and the installation of 32 wheelchair accessible ramps. The work will be done on Kohler Road from Norcross Road to East Grandview Boulevard, Foxborough Court from McClelland Avenue to Ashborough Drive, West 54th Street from Washington Avenue to Clinton Street, and West Gore Road from West Street to Peach Street. We received 3 bids, and those were from Mayer Brothers Construction Company in the amount of $433,432.80, Russell Standard Corporation, the amount of $476,477.28, and Joseph McCormick Construction Company Incorporated, $501,402 even. After reviewing the bids by both the engineering and streets departments, we recommend awarding the milling and paving project for 2017 to the low bidder, Mayer Brothers Construction Company, in the amount of $433,432.80.
Okay. Questions or comments?
Well, I'll just add, Mr. Chairman, that I did speak with Public Works Director Gary Snyder, and when we bid out this kind of work, we are to notify the union. Mr. Snyder did inform me that he did formally notify the union on May 12th of the bid opening and of the possible award of this day. So the notification per the contract and per arbitration determinations have been made to the union.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll move to accept the low bid as recommended by Mr. Morris.
I'll second that.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have a contract extension request for the Millcreek calendar. This is from Judy Zelina, our Public Service Director. The contract for the Millcreek calendar will be expiring after the 2018 calendar. Printing Concepts was awarded a 3-year contract extension on June 30, 2015. This extension fulfilled the printing and design of the 16, 17, and 18 calendars. Judy has attached a quote dated from April 18th of 2017. The Printing Concepts will be willing to extend the contract for an additional 3 years. The cost would continue to be locked in at the same cost we're paying now, $21,046, and this would apply to production of the calendars for 2019, 20, and 21. These are CoStar's prices, and Printing Concepts is a CoStar's contractor. It is Judy's recommendation to award Printing Concepts the 3-year extension.
Okay.
Any questions?
Not from me.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve that contract extension for the printing of the calendars.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Next we have, this is from, I believe, Gary Snyder, our Public Works Director, that he would like permission to hire a landscaper to do some landscaping lawn replacement. This was for, I believe, a backyard storm sewer. Received 3 quotes. First was from Manzi Services for $750, Yardmaster $800, and J.C. Orengia $850, and it was Gary's recommendation that the low quote be awarded that contract from Manzi Services for $750, and I would move approval of that.
Okay, I'll second that.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have Emergency Operations Center vests. This is from our Emergency Management Coordinator, and John, you're going to handle that?
Yeah, I can handle that there, yes. That comes from Matt Exley, our Emergency Management Coordinator. Request purchase of permission to purchase 22 of the Emergency Operations Center vests from FAST, which is the acronym for First Aid and Survival Technologies Limited, at a cost of $1,467.07. It was a budgeted item for this year's budget under the EMA line item. These vests are essential for the operation of the Township Emergency Operations Center. In case you didn't know, the Township building is an Emergency Operations Center, should that happen to occur. Quotes were received from FAST, from Disaster Management System at $1,643.99, and another bid from the Vest Guy, $3,408.90. Therefore, it's recommended to go with FAST at $1,467.07, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have the contracting services for the accessibility project at the Erie Golf Club Pro Shop entrance. Excuse me. And the first was from Mayer Brothers Incorporated for $17,910. Robert Hodis Construction Services was contacted, but were unable to bid due to time constraints. Matt Kroll Construction, LLC, offered a quote of $21,500, and it's Jerry Berger's recommendation that the contract be awarded to Mayer Brothers for $17,910, and I'll move approval of that.
Okay, and I'll second that.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have new or amended ordinances under review. The first is for ordinance 2017-8. This is an ordinance to amend certain provisions of the Millcreek Township zoning code relating to signs, and I'll refer to our solicitor for this one.
Thank you, Mr. McGrath. The sign ordinance has been advertised on 2 occasions. Last board meeting, we made a presentation regarding the proposed changes to the sign ordinance. In short summary, the ordinance needed to be amended as a result of a U.S. Supreme Court case that held that content-based sign ordinances were not constitutional. So we made revisions to the existing ordinance to fit that standard found under the Supreme Court case. There have been a couple of comments with respect to the ordinance. and there were have been some minor changes to the ordinance that were made since the last time it was advertised. In particular, Section 149-79F was amended to clarify that the zoning department has the discretion to impose appropriate conditions on any permit issued. Section 145-79L was a new provision that was added to provide that permits issued for temporary permits in excess of 5 square feet would expire after 60 days. And Section 145-80J was amended to limit the permit exception for temporary signs to those that do not exceed 5 square feet. Those changes were made to the ordinance, and that was published on the website, I think, beginning on the 22nd. So those are the amendments that are in the ordinance that are before you. We received yesterday, late in the day yesterday, a comment from someone with respect to the new illumination portion of the ordinance. They were concerned, there was a provision in Section 145-78E3C that indicates that the owner of any illuminated sign shall arrange for certification showing compliance with the brightness standards set forth herein by an independent contractor and provide the certification documentation to the township as a condition precedent to the issuance of a sign permit. The commenter was concerned about the nature of the certification, indicating that typically they rely on kind of manufacturer spec sheets to provide the type of information that would support how bright the lights may be on an LED or other type of illumination. And so the recommendation would be to further amend, or to add an amendment to that section of the ordinance that would provide that equipment/materials specification and/or data sheets supplied by the light manufacturer that contain brightness information can be used to satisfy this certification requirement. So that would enable, the sign suppliers to rely on the manufacturer's information that they provide to meet that certification
So they
requirement.
don't have to go out and get their own certification out of something.
Correct, on something that's already been effectively certified by the manufacturer.
Gotcha.
Right.
But we do have grounds to ensure that the signs are operating per those specifications.
Correct. So with that additional amendments, because this is a zoning ordinance change, a public hearing is required on this, and so we should conduct the public hearing to allow anyone to provide testimony with respect to any comments they may have on the sign ordinance.
And just as an FYI, so that we try to cover our bases, since a lot of what's in here does apply to the temporary signs, we contacted the Board of Realtors, right, Chuck?
Yes, we did.
Both the Democratic and Republican parties,
Yes, we did.
sign companies,
Yes, we did.
Chamber of Commerce, I believe.
and the local chamber, or the Erie Chamber Growth Partnership, Chamber of Commerce? Okay. And the only comment that we received back was the one from yesterday, right?
Made sense.
Okay. Any comments from the board? And since it's, like you say, Mark, this is a public hearing, although it is on the agenda, we'll entertain comments regarding the sign ordinance.
Okay.
Okay? We have a comment. If we could have your name and address for the record, and then sign the clipboard when you're done.
Okay, absolutely. My name's Lori Mikelski. My address is 6292 Indigo Run, Fairview, Pennsylvania 16415. Basically, I'm an ongoing candidate for a district judge of West Millcreek, so I'm just asking for some clarification. So I have 4x8 signs. What is the situation with regard to the 4x8 signs that I have? Will I still be allowed to use them?
I'll refer to the solicitor, but yes and no.
4x8 signs would not be allowed in residential areas, I believe, or in C1. They are allowed in the balance of the zoning districts. The only requirement would be is a 4x8 sign, any type of 4x8 sign, regardless of content, needs to have a permit in order to put the sign up, and that permit will have a time period of 60 days.
So
And
if
you do not need, correct me if I'm wrong here, you do not need an individual permit for each sign. You can come in with a group of signs and get one permit, as long as we have the locations of all of those signs.
Now, when you say residential property,
Properties that are zoned as residential.
okay, so it could be on 32nd, which a decent-sized plot of land that I will not be able to put a 4x8 sign on.
If that's zoned residential, you would, the maximum area of a sign that would be allowed on that, on residential property will be 5 square feet.
Is there any way that you gentlemen would be willing to table this ordinance or make this effective till after the general election? Because not just myself, but other candidates as well have strategized and purchased these signs with the idea that these 4x8 signs were going to go into these different locations. And with this ordinance, that would basically hinder what our strategies have already been from the very beginning. And as I indicated, a lot of money's been invested in these signs, so that would affect our ability to utilize them now. And I just wonder to know whether you gentlemen would consider tabling this or making it effective till after the general election.
I'm not going to make a determination on policy based on a political candidate's campaign.
I believe it's unfortunate that it fell in this direction, that it's between the primary and the general election, but this ordinance is not, as we've stated several times, is not based on content, it's content neutral. So this is not in regard to political signs, it's any kind of sign. We don't want anything larger than a 5 square foot sign in any residential area. Whether it's advertising a festival coming up or a political candidate. The large signs are more appropriate, we believe anyways, for commercially zoned districts and not in your neighbor's front yard.
Well, I understand not in the neighbor's front yard, but I'm thinking, more busy roads where people live.
Well, a lot of the busy roads have commercially zoned property. So we are not prohibiting the use of the larger signs. We are restricting them to more appropriate locations.
And how long is the permit for?
60 days.
60 days.
Yes.
All right, thank you for your time.
Any other comments?
I think this gentleman back here.
You guys all know me. Fred Huddle Jr., 1719 Brookside Drive. My only question is, with some of the festivals that are going on around here, as your signs. Now, for example, if you got a park, is that zone residential or commercial? If you want to put up a larger sign,
Well, they wouldn't be permitted in public parks anyway.
not a public park, it's a private park. For example, the German Fest, they usually put up one of the larger signs directly right up there at St. Nick's Grove. Would that be like permitted or something of that nature?
To tell you the truth, I'm not sure what St. Nick's would be zoned.
Yeah, that would depend upon the zoning of that property.
The zoning of the property, okay.
So if
And
it's-
so you're saying that like any of these festivals, they can put a larger sign, and I'm sure you've seen some of our signs, if it's a commercial, such as like a beer distributor or for example, one spot we put it up is like, I think up by Kabinski's, right in front of their property.
Well, we
That
have-
would be permitted.
Well, you can actually, we have a zoning map available on the website. Most of the major state routes in Millcreek are zoned commercial.
Okay.
And so the larger signs would be permitted in the,
And not just the
Commercial zone.
festivals, but also like for
other special functions that are going on that they want to advertise for their particular event, is what I'm trying to get at.
Well, we have our zoning officer here. Chuck, a sign is permitted now at a private park, correct? Correct. To advertise? So we're not changing anything there, only if, I suppose, if you wanted to have multiple signs, you are restricted to the number of signs in the new ordinance. That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Fred, if you want, were you going to stick around for the rest of the meeting? If you were, we got a couple chairs over there if you'd like to sit. You know, because I don't
Or you
think
can grab one of those
or
right
grab
there.
one of those if
I
you
got
feel like.
exercise in my legs anyways.
Okay, well, just offering it just in
But
case.
thank you anyways.
Okay. Good to see you.
Frank says hello.
Yes, good to see you.
The one thing I would like to point out is that one of the key components of the ordinance is that temporary signs will not be allowed in the public right-of-way, of the township's public right-of-way. And with respect to right-of-ways on state highways, it's my understanding that PennDOT requires permits to put anything within the state right-of-way, so, and any signs within the state right-of-way is going to need to have a permit.
Okay.
Regardless of what's
I wanted
on
to
the
get
sign.
clarification on, because, you know, right now, when the summer comes, you're going to start getting a lot of these festivals starting
yeah.
advertising and
Yep,
stuff
that's true.
like that. And, you know, one may put one up and then you gotta get the rest of them going, so.
Yeah.
We're going to be chasing signs for quite a while. Guaranteed.
Got your sneakers on?
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments?
I
Not all.
Well,
Oh,
I have,
was there one?
I can.
Okay.
I'll have a few comments too, so.
All right.
Kent Bartlett from Bartlett Signs, 8585 Nissen in Fairview, PA, 16415. The 5 square feet, does that, in our world, the commercial signs, the illuminated, like for the, you know, the insurance guys, the doctor's offices, the permanent, is that part of that, the 5 square foot?
No, that's the 5 square feet applies to the temporary signs.
Temporary side of it. Okay, that's what I assumed, I just,
Yeah,
I
Okay.
think the,
I don't think much has changed for permanent, has it?
right. I don't think it
Depending on
has.
the districts, we did. We
it
limited
seemed like there was
height.
a lot of meat in there for our world, in the commercial side of things, but there's just a couple, that was a glaring one, and then there was the illumination
The
certification.
vast majority of it applies to temporary.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like, it was just as I was sitting here flipping through things, it's like,
Okay.
okay, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Did you sign in
I
by
think-
chance what we're going to need?
Yeah.
in C1 commercial, the area limitation is 32 square feet.
Yeah,
I think we
that's-
added that because it didn't have
Yeah,
a
that
size.
seems like that's, yeah, that's standard.
Yeah.
All right, John, you had a comment?
And thank
Yeah.
you for your illumination comment.
Oh, yes, I appreciate it.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was good. Thank you,
You know,
Ken.
we deal with a lot, it's just kinda-
Okay.
John?
Okay, yeah, I was waiting until he was done there. Not to belabor this matter, but I think many of you know that I've had a career prior to supervisor as working in building and zoning code enforcement, and got to experience a lot of what happens when it comes to political candidacies. The signs are always a big issue. You swear it was the end of the world. Both sides, it doesn't matter. Everybody is guilty of this. Complaining, moaning, crying that somebody's sign, the opposition, is too big, it's in the right-of-way, it may be somewhere else, it's illegal. Everybody's a zoning officer. Pardon me for speaking sarcastically, but I have to say it that way. What brought this about, in a little bit of a historical perspective, was last year's senatorial election. We see the big flap we got into over that, and we've been on the highway to hell ever since then. I do support this ordinance, but let's be keeping in mind, and I think Mark backed me up on this. If I'm wrong, please tell me. This has really not been proven. I mean, it has not been challenged. I'm not saying it hasn't been proven. It hasn't been challenged.
We haven't passed it yet.
Well, but I'm saying any ordinance like this, you know, from other municipalities has not been challenged. So let's keep in mind, it always comes down to the First Amendment. So you people, you kids that are out here that are students, make sure you understand what the First Amendment's about. That's what this whole thing centers around, is the differentiation of signs. What's freedom of speech? What's freedom of advertising? content neutral. Not going to give you a class lesson here or anything, but from an enforcement standpoint, I'm going to feel sorry for the zoning department because honestly, I don't see anything changing during the next election cycle. There will still be things going on, comments made that somehow the township is allowing somebody to put a sign in a right-of-way or something like that. And, you know, what people have to do is let us know. No one gets away with anything. If there's a problem, give us a call here at the township building. Not to give it to Chuck, but it has to go to the zoning department for enforcement. So, sorry, Chuck, I have to do it. But the fact is that, you know, really, will we be revisiting this again sometime? I hope not. I hope we're done with this here, other than the enforcement matters of it. But, you know, God's sakes, folks, you know, the First Amendment is very near to and dear to my heart, like all of the amendments in the Bill of Rights. But there comes a thing called restraint, good taste, and responsibility. And I think that's where we've kind of lost our way. And then we have to regroup and start coming up with regulations about this stuff. So, yeah, I have to support this because I think it's going to work. I hope it works. We'll see where it goes from there. That's all I can say. I don't mean to sound so nonchalant about it, but, you know, we're going to have an enforcement nightmare. Please bear with us. So anybody out there in the audience or anybody seeing this, please bear with us. Next election cycle, you know, if you have a problem, give us a call. We'll investigate it to see if there is a violation. So that's all I got. Thank you for letting me have my First Amendment right. So.
John, anything?
I just want to clarify again that as far as yard signs go in residential districts, we're not limiting your ability to have a yard sign. We're not requiring a permit for yard signs. I believe the only limitation is we're asking you to only have up to two yard signs at any one time in your front yard, and to also keep those signs out of the right-of-way. General rule of thumb is keep it on the inside of telephone poles or the inside of the sidewalk. That's generally going to be considered outside the right-of-way.
That's right.
All right, Mark, I want to thank you for your work on this.
Sure.
Like I said previously, we searched all over the state for another ordinance that had been adopted, that had been challenged, that was acceptable, that had passed the challenge, and there just aren't any. So, as John said, this may very well get challenged. We'll find out. We had to kind of break new ground here, and we'll see where we go with this. We think that we're on solid footing on this, and hopefully if there is a challenge, it'll hold up.
Yeah.
I do want to add, folks, we didn't just kind of pull this out of thin air. Kind of sounds like we did. We didn't. We do have an excellent legal team here at the township. Did a lot of research. We worked with the county planning department. We have looked at other ordinances, and what may have been lost in translation is that there was a Supreme Court case a few years ago that provided guidelines on what is and is not acceptable in a signed ordinance, and so that was the basis for the amendments we made, and I think Mr. Shaw's done an excellent job of really preparing us with an ordinance that I believe does meet those Supreme Court criteria.
I would also add that the Planning Commission did review the draft ordinance and had no comments to it, and Erie County Planning reviewed it and concluded it was consistent with the comprehensive plan, and we're fine with the ordinance.
Okay.
One final comment. Signs don't vote. Registered voters do. Keep that in mind.
Boy, that's urgent.
I know it is. I know it is. I had to say it.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve ordinance 2017-8.
Is there a second?
I will second.
And would that include the amendments
yes.
with
With the
respect to
amendment,
illumination?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, with that stipulation there, yes.
All right, motion second. Mr. Grove?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, next we have action on proposed ordinance 2017-9. This is an ordinance to amend the Millcreek Township zoning ordinance number 2011-8 as amended by changing the classification of a certain parcel of land situate in the township of Millcreek, Erie County, Pennsylvania, described as follows, to wit, the south 600 feet 5208 West Ridge Road, now zoned C4 Regional Commercial District, to be rezoned R4 High Density Residential District. This is a formalization of an action taken previously by the board. Is there a motion regarding the ordinance?
Yeah, I'll move to approve ordinance 2017-9.
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have ordinance 2017-10. This is an ordinance of the Township of Millcreek, Erie County, Pennsylvania, updating the township's floodplain ordinance, codified at Chapter 70, Part 7 of the township's code to be in conformity with standards promulgated by the National Flood Insurance Program. Is there a motion regarding, well, maybe a little, do we need explanation for this?
Just briefly, this is an update of our existing codification of our floodplain ordinance. There were changes made on the federal level by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, to the National Flood Insurance Program, and these changes are required to be made to make it consistent with that. So most of these changes, frankly, come from FEMA in order to make our ordinance consistent.
And if I could add just one thing here in regards to that, going back to building code enforcement, people may need to be aware, if they haven't been aware already, these changes to the floodplain ordinance through the federal government may put your home in a flood zone. The new mapping that has been done in the last several years, it may not have been before, and maybe it was, whatever, something may have changed. So if you're near something that is a water course and you weren't in a flood zone before, you could be now with the new flood zone mapping. And don't be surprised if you get a call from your mortgage carrier demanding flood insurance. Hopefully those cases are isolated, but they can happen. So just a little thing on the QT to keep in mind.
All right, is there a motion regarding the ordinance?
Yeah, I'll move to approve ordinance 2017-10.
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have Resolution 2017 R21. This is a resolution pursuant to Resolution 2015 R20 and the Municipal Records Manual to approve proposed disposition of certain township records. And I'll refer to Mark on this one.
Yes, the request comes from Chief Scott Height to dispose of dash cam videos. They are held for the appropriate length of time, and storage becomes an issue because they take up a lot of space. So you'll probably see one of these almost every month, or maybe even every meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Is there a motion regarding the resolution?
Yeah, I'll move to approve resolution 2017 R21, disposal of those records as listed.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Next, we have Resolution 2017 R22. This is a resolution to assess the cost of street lighting upon various properties abutting on streets in various subdivisions within the township of Millcreek. I believe this is the standard resolution that needs to be adopted every year. Is that correct, Mark?
Yes.
Okay.
Obviously, the components cost of this are the, in some cases, contracts that have been in existence a long time. You're paying just for the power and distribution, and contracts that are new, they're paying for that plus the light. So one thing I do want to note, there is a major change in the one rider, Rider L, filed with by Penelec and the PUC. This is the monies by which they have replaced the meters and now are being designated for things like replacing streetlights with LEDs. That fund was overfunded previously. Now they're raising money, so that went from being a negative charge, in other words, a reduction in your total cost, to an add-on. And so the average increase is about 24%.
So those folks who pay their annual streetlight assessment can expect to see a roughly 24% increase in their bill And again, this is not something that the township is doing. This is a pass-through. We simply send out the bills for Penelec. They tell us how much those bills are. And like Mark stated, they're going to be going up significantly. Questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve Resolution 2017-R-22, dealing with the streetlight assessments.
Second.
I'll second.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Next, we have Resolution 2017-R-23. This is a resolution by the Board of Supervisors of Millcreek Township to approve the February 1st, 2017 amendments to the bylaws of the Erie Area Council of Governments. Recently, well, last year, in May of 2016, the General Assembly of the COG adopted the strategic plan, and in doing so, an amendment to the bylaws was going to be required for the Council of Governments. Each member government is required to independently approve those changes. So that's why we have a resolution to that effect. I would move approval of Resolution 2017-R-23, approving the amendments to the bylaws of the Erie Area Council of Governments.
Mr. Chairman, you're our rep on the COG. Any thoughts on the amendments? Was there anything significant to the amendments, or was it?
Very little as far as significance. There was some changes to what was required for a quorum, when a member government was permitted, or how a member government would be permitted to withdraw from the COG, and then adopting the fact that there was a strategic plan in place and make that part of the bylaws.
I'll second your motion.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Next, we have the Millcreek Golf and Learning Center. This is in regard to a golf course architect to prepare final design drawings, bid specifications, and perform inspections for renovations. This was tabled from our May 9th meeting. At that time, we were still attempting to solicit a second proposal, which we did actually receive yesterday. These proposals were reviewed by the engineering department. We have a recommendation from the engineering department to that effect. We received two proposals. The first was from Cervone Golf Design, and that was for $17,500. And the second one was from Heatwall Golf Design Limited. They're from State College, I believe. Cervone, are they from the Pittsburgh area, Rick?
I believe so.
Yeah. And, I'm sorry, Trafford, PA, down in that area. The second one's from Heatwall, and their total was $19,500. And it's our engineering's recommendation that the contract be awarded to, correct me if I'm wrong here, Rick, but Cervone Golf Design.
That's correct.
For the $17,500.
Yes.
And they will perform the scope of services involves the design plans, preparing the bid documents, and then actually doing the inspection. I believe it's 5 site visits, correct, Rick?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. McGrath,
Questions?
this
Yes.
is tied to, I think, the grant we received from DCED earlier this year, correct, or late last year?
Correct, yes. We received a $77,500 grant from DCED, and we budgeted $155,000 for the project. This would be coming out of that pot. Any other questions? Not, I'll make the motion to approve awarding the contract for the consultant to Cervone Golf Design for $17,500.
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have financial security release request. This is for the Temple Anshe Hesed Reformed Congregation of Erie, and I will refer to our engineer for this.
This is a little bit different in that because the congregation wanted to commence construction early, they provided cash up front for the financial security until they could receive a letter of credit from the bank. So before you today is a request to release the cash that we're withholding and replace it with a letter of credit. So the cash is in the amount of $299,040.10 by Erie Bank check number 1022, and they're requesting that it be replaced by a letter of credit from BNY Mellon, number S as in Sam, 3067572, in the amount of an even $300,000.
Okay.
So in essence, all they're doing is changing the form of security.
That's correct.
Okay. See any issue with that, Mark?
No, we reviewed, and because Mellon Bank, BNY Mellon had some questions, reviewed it with them, and the format that they provided is acceptable and consistent with what we've done in the past.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to release the cash portion of that request.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grow?
How about yes?
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have stormwater plans and maintenance agreements. This is for window cleaning by Jim. Rick?
The maintenance agreement is on the standard PennDOT form, or township form, and the maintenance will be the responsibility of the owner, and so we recommend approval of this maintenance agreement.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve that, that agreement there, stormwater plan and maintenance agreement. Sorry.
Okay.
And also also at the same time approve the stormwater management plan.
Yes, okay, yeah.
All right. Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have the April building construction report.
Okay, I'll give it. Okay, in the month of April, we saw in the area of residential new structures, additions and remodels, a total construction value of $737,000. In the commercial end of it there, we saw a total of new buildings, additions and so on, remodeling, 2.9 to 6, $352,000, for a total of $3,663,352. So we're starting to see an uptick in the amount of construction and remodeling going on. It's still not as strong as it was a few years ago, but still it's a good sign that we're seeing an uptick on that.
Well, the big number there out of the
Yeah.
3.6 million was the temple.
The temple was, yeah, that was the big one there. $2.3 million on the temple.
All right, and that is available, well, it will be available online. It's available in our zoning office.
Yeah, if you want a
anyone would
paper
like to take
copy.
look at that.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, John. Next, we have communications. Mark?
Yes, first, I would like to request that we transfer an additional $433,000, I gotta find the page again. It's whatever the amount was for the paving. $433,432.80 from the state fund to the street improvements fund. We didn't budget this initially in the, just left it in the state fund because we didn't have a specific project at the time. But these are funds that are available only for street paving anyhow, and so therefore, it's an appropriate use of the monies, and it covers the cost of the project.
So it's transferring it from the liquid fuels fund to our
General fund.
general fund?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Mark, you want to handle the
Sure.
street lighting?
Along with approving the rates, now we got to mail the bills, and we've got 8,111 bills to mail. So we're going to use tri-county letter and parcel to pre-sort these and post, put the postage on. We save a little bit on postage that way. The postage itself is like 45.3 cents as opposed to the standard 46 cents first-class stamp. So we're just not really equipped to handle that many pieces of mail and get it right.
And
So I
again,
recommend
that just comes out of the
Yeah, it gets passed.
administrative
Yes.
costs. Okay. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll I'll move to approve that purchase cost.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grow?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Is that it, Mark?
Yes.
John?
Okay, I've got several from the police department. I think these start out with the fire police request for the West Ridge and Westlake Fire Departments, fire police to be authorized to conduct traffic control for the Manufacturers Association Mayor's Ride during the Roar on the Shore. That event will be held on Friday, July 14th, between the hours of 5 and 6:30. I think that starts at the Manufacturers Association, if I understand it correctly. They're going to provide traffic control as that heads down. I'm not sure where. I'm not sure the route, but anyway, it'll end up going down around Presque Isle State Park. So I need to put that in the form of a motion to approve the fire police for that activity.
John, I'll only second that if the mayor lets you run like a relay. And so you get to lead it on your Harley through Millcreek.
Well,
He
actually,
hands you the baton and you get to lead it, otherwise.
a little
I would
story
do this.
about this here, folks. The Harley Davidson shop here in Erie will be having a ride at 4:30, starting at their shop over on West 12th Street for the emergency responders. And yours truly will be leading that ride, as I did last year. So happy to say that. And
Are
for
we
the
calling it
riders out here
supervisor
in the
ride, or
audience.
we're gonna call it, we're not calling it the supervisor ride,
Yeah.
are we?
Well, you know, actually, the mayor's ride is done here after this year, so I think I'm done poking.
We'll see.
Well, you never
Schember or
know.
Persinger
You never know.
Give them lessons by next year.
We'll show them how to ride, so.
So
Anyway,
you need
for that,
an
for the
approval
fire,
for the fire police.
for that.
I'll
for that-
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote
And I
yes.
vote yes.
Okay, and then I have one more for, this comes from Caleb Lancaster. I think he's a member somehow associated with the 15,000 Freedom Challenge. It is a 5K, or 15K, I'm sorry, race held on Millfair Road and Heidler Road on May 29th, week from yesterday, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m., or 9 a.m., I'm sorry. And I think we did this last year, and this would be for the Westlake Fire Department to handle that traffic control. So I put that in the form of a motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
Okay, another one here, a request permission, this comes from Chief Scott Height, a request permission for officers Caldwell and Juka to attend a defensive tactics instructor certification seminar at the Mercyhurst Municipal Training Academy from June 26th to June 30th. Travel will be by department vehicle daily, and there's no anticipated overtime required. Total cost is $850. Put in the form of a motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
Okay, and then I just got two other things here. It is with sadness that we, as many of you may have saw in the paper recently, last Wednesday, the Millcreek Township Zoning Board lost one of its members, Art Gellner, who was a member of that board for the past several years, passed away after a very brief illness, and we wish to offer our condolences to his widow, Catherine, and his two daughters, and his many grandchildren. I just wanted to offer that. I've known Art for many years, from when I worked in the electrical trade, electrical construction. He was a plumber. Of course, he knew my family, and I knew him from different jobs I had been on. We will miss him. Of course, he was a regular staple out in the audience out here, just as much as Gary Bear is in our audience. Very much interested and concerned about what happens here in Millcreek, and always a good voice of reason. We will miss him for that. One of the other things we will miss him for is his annual visits, or his visits right around the holidays, where he'd deliver all kinds of pizzelles and cookies to us. And as many can see, I had quite a few of them. So, but we will definitely miss him, I think, and I not think I know that there. So, as I said, our condolences to his family. And just a final note here, I think Sydney Stitt, our student ambassador, I think she might be working tonight, but tonight would have been her final meeting. She graduates in a couple weeks from McDowell High School and going on, I think, to American University. Is that correct? I think that's what
she said.
Okay, yeah, I think American University, and what a brilliant young lady we've had, and we're glad we have this program here with the McDowell High School. We'll probably have a new student or two, possibly next fall, to be the student ambassador. So any students that are still out in the audience that haven't left, if you're interested, please let Ms. Crystal Myers or Sandra Means. They're the counselors up there. Let them know you're interested in being a part of this. You get to sit up here and take some abuse like we do, and, no, you're not really, but be an active part of what government's about. And so, anyway, I want to thank the Millcreek School District, especially Crystal Myers and Sandra Means, for their help in coordinating all this from that end. So we'll see those folks in the fall. Thank you. That's all I have.
Is that it, Sean?
That's all.
Okay.
Mr. Groh, I have one question for you.
Yeah.
And maybe for Mark Zakrzewski as well. At our last meeting, we were discussing the police budget regarding some software acquisitions and
yeah.
also a police vehicle. I can't recall if we tabled that action or if we had tentative approval. Just wondering if there's anything to report out on that.
If I recall, Cheryl or Mark, we authorized 3 cars to be purchased, and we were going to look at a 4th one. I don't think we have done anything. Of course, I was on vacation last week.
Okay.
And, so we're going to, look at if we can come up
For the
with some
fourth
money for the
vehicle,
4th
okay.
vehicle.
I wasn't
yes.
sure if that we had
Okay,
anything
yes,
on
thank
that.
you. Yep. Okay.
All right. Moving on, we have a memo from our Human Resource Director in regard to the hiring of a Michael Brink. This would be his 2nd season in the Streets Department at the appropriate rate, and I'll move approval of that.
Okay, I'll second that.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes, and we have a very extensive list, as we always do, for the Parks and Recreation seasonal employees for summer classes. It's about 3 pages long, so we won't go through the whole thing, but it is available in our Parks Department or in our administrative offices, if anyone would like to take a look at that. And I would move approval of that list of summer employees.
Okay, I'll second that.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
Okay, I just want to clarify one thing when it comes to the summer help. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, Brian. I think the summer help, they start when college is done, if there's their semester at college. And then their last day of work here as temporary help is the Friday of Labor Day weekend. Am I correct on that? That's how we would normally do it? But many times they go back to school before that, but.
Most college students go back before that. We have run past
Right.
Labor Day on a few, but I think that, Mark, you'd probably know better than I, there is a cutoff date, a drop, sorry to use the term, a drop dead
I
date.
believe it's like 8 weeks.
8 weeks, yeah, something like that. That's just for the public to know that, just in case they're wondering, if we bring on people as summer help and they stay here forever. No, they don't. There is a time limit on that, so just want that to be expressed during the meeting, so, thanks.
Okay, as far as executive sessions go, we had an executive session on May 12th that went from about 8:30 to 11, and another executive session that went, on May 19th, that extended from 9 a.m. till about noon. And that's all I have. John?
I've got nothing.
Mark?
Nothing on my end.
Cheryl? Rick? Citizens to be heard,
Okay, please come forward.
if you would. Could I have your name and address for the record, and sign in when you're done?
Yes, sir. Actually, can I approach real quick and hand
Sure,
something to you?
please.
Okay.
Hello, doctor, how you doing? Good. Oh, good to see you too, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm not going to read this as well, but.
Good evening. I'm Mark Cray. I live at 244 Edgewater Circle with my wife and 3 children. I'm accompanied by some of my neighbors today. We live at Edgewater subdivision, and I'm here to discuss some issues that we're having with St. Nick's Grove. I've lived there approximately 6 years now. In fact, I have a map here that kind of demonstrates the subdivision. St. Nick's Grove, the periphery, is marked in red. Our subdivision's the circle that's adjacent to it. I am the closest individual that lives next to them. I'm approximately 200 feet away from where they have most of their festivities. Over the past couple of years, I've noted that there's been a dramatic increase in the number of events that they're having. There's been a significant increase in the number of stag and drag parties that they're having. That's been very disruptive to me and a lot of my neighbors. So disruptive that we've had to call the police numerous times. They've come down and they've actually made some recommendations that I actually talked to some of my neighbors and come to a meeting in this type of setting. I've attempted to talk to the church. I've attempted to talk to some of the individuals that represent the oversight, and I've essentially gotten nowhere. They've pretty much used the excuse that they've been there first and there's nothing we can do, which has been very frustrating because I have 3 children in my backyard that are trying to play. It's disruptive to them. I have difficulty having my kids try and go to bed at night because there's parties that are going on at late hours that are disruptive. It bothers me that as a taxpayer who pays an average of about $1,900 a year to Millcreek Township, our subdivision, approximately 52,000, aren't being heard. In fact, I did a little bit of research, and I did find that there are some local ordinances, which I gave you a copy of, 2015 -8, section 102.2, defines a nuisance element to include noise and vibration. 102.2-7 and 102.2-6, a nuisance is defined as an act which interferes with or causes inconvenience to the exercise of common right or the enjoyment of property. This includes interference with the public peace. Under section 104.5, noise which unreasonably interferes with reasonable use, comfort, and enjoyment of a neighbor's property is declared a nuisance. Section 107.4 imposes a penalty of not less than $400 or more than $600 plus costs and attorney fees for violations. I feel that as a group, my neighborhood only has about 2 different types of strategies here. The first is to continue to make numerous phone calls to the police department and try and remedy the situation, which really hasn't gotten anywhere, or to finally ask for your help to see if there's some kind of an outreach program that we can come up with. I know you can tell that I'm very passionate about this. This is a problem that has escalated to the point where it really is disheartening. I've taken a lot of time and effort to try and make my home an enjoyable environment, and it's very distractive.
Okay. Well,
Go ahead.
I can respond there. Doctor, of course, you and I have talked over the last year about this problem here, and I know that you reached out to me and gave me some information of who to contact with the church that owns the property up there, and I did talk with the chairman of that board, or whatever he is, and really didn't get much satisfaction from him myself. I did caution him, not threaten him, I just did caution him that further action will probably be happening. Since you and I have talked here in the last couple of days, I've also talked with our police chief and also with our solicitor, and to see what other angle we can approach this at. There has to be a common sense way of handling this, reasonable way. I do need to ask you this. The problems you're having are not with the festivals, right? It's more of the private rental.
No, it's more the screening process that they have, or
Right.
lack thereof. I think that they're not being responsible to the community.
Yeah.
They're having inappropriate parties, inappropriate, very loud music,
Right.
rap music that's blaring. I shouldn't hear that music in my basement,
Right.
or in my second-story room at 10 o'clock at night when my kids are trying to go to bed.
And believe me, I understand that too. I would not want to hear that.
And,
You know. Yeah. Yeah. So
I
the
think
German
it's
festival.
reasonable. It's a
Well,
reasonable
it is a reasonable
concern.
request, yeah. And you are the reasonable man here in this matter here, you know. The German festival, you're not having any issues with that or any of the church functions.
Any of the
It's-
functions that are promoting the community, I think, are important.
Yeah.
And I'm an advocate of that.
Right,
What
yeah.
I think is they're not being responsible.
Right.
And I'm not getting there anywhere in regards to trying to contact them in
Mm-hmm.
a very civil way.
Okay. Well, as I said, I talked with the police chief in the last day I also talked with our solicitor. We will be meeting to see how this can be addressed, and if there's an ordinance already in place, which this may be it right here under the public nuisance, just continue to go after the violator and also the property owner if it can be done that way. That's where we have to sit down and see who would actually be charged in this, in this sort of thing.
Yeah, and I'm not exactly sure where the law defines that. I'm not sure. If
Well,
it's
that's the thing we have to
individual
determine.
That's renting the property. The concern that I have is that they're renting this to people, and anybody who's willing to pay a fee to support their institution,
Right.
without consideration as to how it's affecting the other people in the surrounding environment.
And please, the way this is coming across, and I believe it is almost, and I'm not saying it is a bottle club, because, when you think of bottle clubs, there's usually adult entertainment, but it is something where the uncontrolled consumption of alcohol is going on, and it's just somebody not managing the place.
To be quite honest with you, one of the biggest issues that I have is the fact that it actually is. They're having a PA loudspeaker constantly announcing bottle raffles in my backyard.
Okay.
I mean, I have proof.
Okay. Sir, I will tell you this, when we get something figured out here, which hopefully we can do before the end of the week, I'll get in contact with you. Okay? How's that sound?
If I could, if you could, sir, provide to us any specifics, any evidence that you have, if you have recordings or
I do.
videotape, or
Yeah, we can
if you
get
could
that from you,
provide,
sir. Yeah.
if you could provide that information to us, it would give us a sense of what you're experiencing and dealing with, and
Yeah, he had offered.
then we're in a
I
better,
think it will solidify it.
and then we'll just be in a better position to evaluate what could be done.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Sorry, Timothy Pelkowski, 208 Edgewater Circle, Erie 16509. Really just echoing what Mark had said. My address is probably farther from St. Nick's Grove, but still the exact same issue from that
Right.
standpoint, from the noise level. So really not much more to add, but just want to reiterate that we really appreciate from a neighborhood standpoint that Dr. Cray has taken this on, because as a group, we all agree with it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Lisa English. Also live at Edgewater Circle, 260. We live about 4 doors up the hill away from St. Nick's.
Yes.
We also hear the noise in rooms of our house. The other thing that I've noticed quite a bit is we get a lot of beer bottles and things after the parties in our woods, and we have little kids too. So I'm just worried about the safety factor.
Definitely understand that, because if it's being rented out to parties who may not have any consideration for the neighbors, or may not even know that there are neighbors back there, I think it's pretty well screened, but still the noise goes through the trees.
Well, we have,
Yeah.
the township has several facilities that we rent out, and we have restrictions on those. And perhaps this is a case where the owners of the property need to take a close look at just how they screen or don't screen the folks that they're renting it to, and put some restrictions on it.
Right. I can tell you that when I did talk to the chairman of the board that runs that, I was rather disappointed in his reply, and I thought somebody would be embarrassed, that this was going on, and he didn't really seem to care, and that was troublesome. So,
Absolutely. Well, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:15.
Okay, I'll move.
We're adjourned.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.